Hello everybody, and welcome to YouTube's Scale Modeling channel. Today we're going to start part 3 of our multi-part series on building and detailing the Revell-Monogram 1/48 scale B-29. In part 3 we're going to airbrush all the base colors on all the small parts. We'll do some dry brushing on them, and then we'll do some detail painting. So with that said, let's get started with part 3. I've got all of the interior parts with their base colors. Of course, this is interior green, this color, Tester's Model Master Interior Green, and actually it's the last of supply of my interior green color. After this, I'm going to have to use water-based paints for interior colors. So all of this is now ready for a little bit of detail painting and dry brushing. And of course, I'll go ahead and tape the clamps here with some very, very thin strips of tape, and then airbrush this white and then flat yellow. And I've got the bombs in their flat white colors. So now I just will give them a coat of flat yellow, put a stripe on here with some masking tape, and then olive drab. So here's the flight deck, and it's ready to a little bit of detail painting, and then I can put the placards on. Back here, I forgot to take the tape off where the bulkheads are going to go. So, there's a second set of bunks that go on these places right here. I'm not going to install them. It's going to add weight back here, and I want to try to lighten the back end of the fuselage as much as I can, so that I don't need to put as much lead weight in the front half of the fuselage. So on the underside is where I'll put lead weight, flattened lead weights, and I'll do a little dry brushing in here and dust it up a little bit, weather it, the landing gear bay, and yeah, so everything has a base color. Everything was primed first, and so now I just need to do a little bit of detail painting on these parts, and this is the fun part, the detail painting. And of course, as I explained, if you install it so that you're looking up into the bomb bay this way, you won't see this seam or this seam. So you don't have to mess with it. If you turn it, like so many modelers do, you're going to have to deal with this seam, at least on one side. So these bulkheads will get a little bit of detail painting. I'll paint that black, flat black. And some of these boxes will be painted flat black. And I'll probably scrape some of this paint off here. I've got some more placards I may just put on here. You're not going to see much back here. This goes here, and this bulkhead, you're not going to see anything on this side here. So I may just cut this off because you're not going to see it, and it'll really help lighten the back end of the fuselage a great deal. We'll see. So these are these parts, and like I said, they've all got their base coats, and then we'll see how it goes. So yeah, looking pretty good. So I drilled these out so that it would look more realistic. So now let's go on to, I'll show you some of the smaller parts, and we'll go from there. Here are all the small parts with their base coats. Everything was primed and checked. And as I told you earlier, these are not going to be installed, so I can go ahead and discard those. But everything else, the Monogram did a really good job. The surface detail is just very, very crisp on these parts. On this one, as I explained in an earlier video, I drilled out, there's a decal that goes here, and then I drilled out all of this so that these can be cut and installed, the levers. These were painted with Sharpies. Put several coats on there. And this goes behind the bulkhead. You're really not going to see much of this, just a glimpse of it. So I'm going to go ahead and this is a wood platform here, and so I will paint this flat wood color, and then just do a little bit of detail painting and dry brushing around the edges. And the same thing on the pilot and co-pilot consoles. I'll just do a little bit of dry brushing. There's decal that goes here and here, and this needs to be, of course, detail painted. I have a placard that goes down there, and same thing here. I've got two placards. The tape is off, and just tiny drops of tester's glue here and here will hold the placards in place. On the Norton bomb sight, I got to tell you, this is one of the nicest looking injection molded Norton bomb sights I've ever seen. Very nicely done and well detailed. So this will look really good when I detail paint it a little bit and dry brush it. Monogram did a really nice job on this Norton bomb sight. And of course, here's the bomb release, and it's actually got two levers. Nicely done. Now let me get this closer so you can see it. There's the levers right there. Nicely done. On the pilot and co-pilot seat, I drilled out these holes in the back so that I can run the seat belts from the back side over the front and fold them down over these molded on seat belts, which I was able to scrape and sand down a little bit, and the lap belts too. So this will look a lot better. And I'll go ahead and hand brush, detail paint, olive drab for the cushions on the armrest and on the headrest on both of these. So yeah, coming along good. Here's the deck hatch, the flight deck hatch that goes down into the forward landing gear bay where the forward crew came up through. So it's nicely done. A little bit of I was able to scrape down some of these mold punch outs a little bit, but it's sitting so far back you're really not going to notice them. Again, Monogram did a really nice job with the detail. So navigation table, got to do a little bit of detail painting, black, black, and black. And I'm not sure if I want to keep this the interior green color or make it wood color. We'll see how it goes. And the consoles need to be a little bit of detail painting, and these sights for the remote control guns will get flat black with a little bit of dry brushing. So, and this, I have experienced a little bit of this, and I think it's this paint peeling, and I think it's because the paint is too thin. You see how shiny that black is? That black, the black plastic is very shiny. And I think if I had dulled it with some steel wool, it wouldn't have peeled on me. So this will be flat flat brown. So yeah, all the base, all the interior parts are here, and yeah, we're moving along. It's going to look pretty good. I've got all the base coats done for the landing gear areas, and they came out pretty good too. I really like this synchromate color, and wants to do a little detail painting and dry brushing. This is going to look really, really nice, both these. This is the back bulkhead for the forward landing gear. One of the reasons why I prime is it's a good indicator for any mold lines that you may have missed, and I missed a few on this one. So now this will get a steel color. Same here, there were some mold punch outs that I sanded down on these parts here and here. So this is the forward landing gear brace, the landing gear door actuators. And again, Monogram, they really did a nice job. A lot of attention to detail on these. These are the Edward resin wheels, and they have some really nice tread on them. And they come with a set of masks here. So, but for some reason, the paint is not sticking very well. And I have a feeling, you see on the back here, it's rubbing off a little bit. So I have a suspicion that when I mask, paint's going to come right up. But we'll give it a try and see. As a backup, I have the kit landing gears, tires. Now, the only problem with these is you lose a lot of the tread detail, sanding out the seam. Now, if you look from the side, you can see the tread detail. So, yeah, there's still a little bit of water in there. I cleaned them up. So, let me go ahead and get a Q-tip in there. There we go. They probably all got a little water. That one doesn't. That one doesn't. And that one doesn't. So these will be back up. I got to prime them, paint them black. Now the landing gear, the main landing gear, nicely detailed, except these pieces are very delicate. I've snapped them. Luckily I had several of these from an older kit. It snapped on me there, and it snapped on me there. And all I was doing was just scraping the mold seam line off. So, yeah. You got to be very careful with these. And I think it's this silver plastic. It's not as strong as gray plastic. I've experienced that before with silver plastic. Anyway, all these parts are ready for more painting. These go on the back sides of the gears, the main landing gears, right there. So they'll get put on a little bit later. So yeah, it's all looking pretty good. So these are ready. Again, this is the last set. These are ready for detail painting, and I'll probably dirty up the landing gear a little bit with some black or dark gray pastel, and we'll go from there. So yeah, we're just about there. I've got the interior of the landing gear bay doors as well as the bomb bay doors airbrushed, so we'll go ahead and take the tape off and see how it looks. So we'll start with this piece. This is the closed door hatch for the skid pad, And let's see here. Voila. Came out pretty good. So the way I do this is I mask the flat side and then go ahead and airbrush the interior area. And that works really, really well. Let's see. These are the pieces that go on the bomb bays. I mean on the landing gear doors. On the landing gear for the doors. And really, really nice. Nice demarcation lines. And this is as a result of using good masking tape, which I've said many, many times in many of my videos. I like using the painter's 3M masking tape with the red inside area on the cardboard. It works really, really well. All right, let's see how the main landing gear doors came out. Really nice. Nice demarcation lines. And gotta carefully remove this. Nice. Using low pressure with your airbrush helps keep the paint from seeping underneath. Yeah, it's a little tiny bit here, but I'm not going to worry about that. Whoops. All right. Looking really good so far. All right, I've got an extra set of gear doors here in case I screw something up for the front landing gears. Looks good. Really nice. So when I'm done here, the next step will be to go ahead and do some dry brushing with silver paint, and I'll show you how I do that. I've demonstrated that on other models, and I'll go ahead and do it here. Let me go ahead and get rid of some of this tape. Okay, last one. And then we'll take a look at the Bombay doors to see how that came out. Really nice. Nice demarcation lines. All right, we'll set that aside. And now we'll do the Bombay doors. And we'll see how they came out. Very nice. Again, I love using this tape. Works really, really well. And I've used this tape for 30 years. It's getting hard to find though. I got to go on eBay and get it now. This tape has really good adhesion and good stretch qualities. It's easy to cut. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and get it set up for some dry brushing with silver paint, and I'll get back to you in a few minutes. So I have the dry brushing done on the interior of the fuselage, most notably in the area that's going to be seen, the bomb bay area. And I did a little bit up here just to highlight the raised cabling. And I didn't do any back here because you're really not going to see anything. And I did a little bit here because when you look through this large glass, you're going to see some things. But you noticed how it's very, very subtle. I didn't do any sponging for large areas where the paint is peeled off. I just wanted to keep it pretty simple. And I'm not even going to use any pastel dust on the inside here to dirty it up. But I did want to show you how it looks compared to this. So you can see how it's been highlighted, and I like using Testors enamel, flat aluminum for it, and this is my favorite go-to dry brush. It was a flat brush, and when the bristles were a lot longer, so I cut them short so that I can just kind of get in along the edges here. And so that's how I did it. And this flat brush is really stiff, which makes it easy to do, versus a longer brush, which has got more flexibility to it. And when you try to get the edges, you tend to also put paint on the surface, which I didn't want to do. So I just wanted to show you the difference here. And you do it just along the edges and the openings. So that's kind of bland. And this looks a lot better. So now, if I was going to dirty it up with some pastels, I would tape the gluing surface areas here and then dirty it up a little bit and then seal it with some Testors dull coat. But I'm not going to do that. I've done it on the last 4 builds, and I kind of want to keep this one fairly clean. Now, I will do it on the landing gears because they get dirtied up pretty quick, and the landing gear bays. But I'll just keep the interior fairly clean. So, but here, I mean, you can really see the difference, how it highlights it. So, let's move on to some other small parts. I've got some of the parts dry brushed. This one, and this one. And you want a very subtle effect. You don't want to overdo it. So here's how I do it. I like to use Testors aluminum, flat aluminum. And I use what's in the cap with a clean, flat brush. I've modified this brush. It's very stiff on the end. Put a little bit of paint on here, and then you want to remove almost all of the paint from the brush. And we'll go ahead and we'll knock this out of the way so I don't knock it over. And you just apply it. And just tiny paint particles will come off. Just like that. Now, I normally would put a dusting of pastel pencil, either dark charcoal or light charcoal or dark gray, but I've decided not to do that with this kit because I've got so much else that I'm working on. It's such a big kit and a big challenge. So I'm just going to dry brush and leave it at that. There we go. Just a little bit. We'll go ahead and do these other two gear doors, the main gear doors. I'm going to go around the edges first. You can see how the brush is picking up just the edges. And if you do it lightly, you can highlight some of the nice bolt detail. There, just like that. That's all you need. You don't want to overdo it. And sometimes I tend to overdo it. I usually overdo it on my pastel weathering on the interior. So, just a little bit. You're adding accents, and it's this cumulative effect of dry brushing that really makes a difference. So, yeah, looks pretty good. And I've got this one done, and this one done, this done. See, just the edges. Just doing it on the edges. Now I'll do this one. Do these two. Darker colors, it stands out better. Gives it some highlights. There we go. Not bad. Just very subtle. Well, that's all you need. That will help it stand out. And we'll go ahead and clean the cap. Should always do this. Clean your caps so you get a good seal. Otherwise, when the paint dries, you won't be able to get the cap off again. And we'll go ahead and clean our brush. And we're done. So, and again, I like using, I have it labeled for sponging and for dry brushing, and it's this flat aluminum, and it's an enamel paint, and works really, really well. I also use it for sponging, sponge weathering, which I'll demonstrate on the cowlings once I get them painted. I've got the dry brushing done, which is always my first step on these smaller parts. So here's the crawl space on the front to the back. Now I dry brushed it to highlight it. Here's the wing spar and the mechanisms associated with the bomb bays. And here's the two bulkheads for the bomb bays. And I've got to do a little bit of scraping here because the flight deck sits on this, and I want to be able to glue it. And I've got to scrape it here because there's a wood table that sits here. And I'll go ahead and blacken these up a little bit. But you're not going to see much this far back. Here's the other bulkhead. And this is the cockpit bulkhead. Notice it's just around the edges here. And here again, rear bulkhead. Just a little bit of highlighting around the edges. And what this does is it really helps create more depth to the model. So I've got this dry brush. This needs to be painted flat black, and then I've got a dry brush it. And here's the forward gear door forward gear door landing gear door mechanism. And you can see how it is just the edges and the elevated parts. Just a little bit of dry brushing makes a big difference. Now, this is the big thing you're going to see. So, as a first step, it's been dry brushed, especially around the hatches along the edges. And on the underside, the forward landing gear bay. Once I get the placards glued on, it'll look really, really nice. And here's the rear deck. Again, there's a bulkhead that goes here, and you're not going to see any of this, so none of this. And I may even just cut this off to reduce the weight on the tail. And here's the hatch for the cockpit that leads down into the forward landing gear. It goes here. And I'm probably going to prop this open a little bit to add a little bit of action and depth to the model. Yeah. The Bombay door mechanisms. So I still need to paint these black. And same here. These hoses, hydraulic hoses, are black. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And again, it's very subtle. You don't want to overdo it. And sometimes I tend to overdo it. So, and I didn't on this. I was very, very diligent and careful. Before I show you these smaller cockpit parts, let me go back over this dry brushing technique one more time. So, as I mentioned, I use flat aluminum Testor's enamel because it sticks real well. So I shake it up real good. I open the top. I cleaned the jar lip carefully to get all the paint off. And what paint is on the underside in here is what I use. And I dip this, my favorite stiff brush, into the paint. And then you want to wipe almost all that paint off, so that you just have tiny, tiny particles on this brush. And yes, you have to go back and forth a lot, but if you do it, you get this subtle effect just around the edges. If there's too much paint on here, it'll look like an outline, and that's what you don't want. So here's the engineer's station. I got to put the decal here, paint these boxes black, and then put my levers on. And once I glue the levers on, I'll put tiny, tiny drops of Elmer's glue on the tips, and the Elmer's glue will take the shape of a ball, and then I can paint them. Here's the radio control station. I still need to detail this a little bit, and this needs to be a wood color. And here is the front and the back of the pilot and co-pilot. And there's a decal that goes here on both of these. So, and the foot pedals where the pilot's going to wear the paint off. So, Again, this is just the first step, and what it is this additive effect. So you want to do your base colors, and then you want to highlight the edges with flat aluminum paint, and then you do your detail painting and any weathering that you might want. Now, that area right there is going to be white, and then there's a control panel that I have that it goes up on top here. But again, just on the edges, just to highlight the edges and add depth. These levers, the tips will be flat red. And here's this beautiful Norton bomb sight. That will be silver or white. And I'll probably, because you're going to see this, so there's another peep sight right there. But yeah, this looks really, really good. Monogram did a really nice job detailing this. The seats that you're going to see, just the edges. And I have seat belts I'll put on here. And I'll put them right over these existing molded on seat belts. Here's a radio box, a control panel for the bomb bay, for the bombardier's position, and there's little, I put tape here which I pulled off, and I've got two colored placards go here, and the control yokes. These control yokes need to be painted black, and then there's a tiny pins up here, and I'll make those red. Probably one red, one silver. So yeah, it'll look pretty good once it's all together and detail painted. So good first step. So that's how it goes. That's all these little parts. And now we're ready to do some detail painting, masking and detail painting on some parts. So let's get to it. I've got all the detail painting done that I wanted to accomplish on the small parts, and of course came out pretty good. Here's the main deck. Of course, I still need to put the colored placards here, but so far so good. So for canvas, I used olive drab. And both seats, the head cushion olive drab and the arm cushions are olive drab. And once I get the photo etch seat belts here to cover these and these molded on seat belts, it's going to look pretty good. This is the rear gunner's position. You're not going to see much here once a fuselage is closed up, so it'll look okay. The table with I painted these boxes black. Again, you're not really going to see much of this, or this for this matter. The most you'll see is a glimpse of this and some of this down here, because this is going to sit up against a bulkhead on the fuselage side, and then there's a frame that goes here, so you're not going to see it. There's another rear bulkhead. The only thing you're going to see is through the glass bubbles for the gunner aiming systems for the gunners. So I did a little bit of detail painting here. There's a decal that goes here, and I've got to put the levers on, but I'll put the decal on first. I'll go ahead and gloss this so the decal can be slid around a little bit for positioning, and then I'll hit it with some flat, and then go ahead and put all the levers on here. This piece came out good. Like I said in an earlier video, I really like this Norton bomb sight. They did a really good job of detailing this. So, and here are the bombardier's levers. I just I painted those red tips with a toothpick, a sharpened toothpick. And this has been painted. The pilot and co-pilot control yokes have been painted with red tips on the buttons. Monogram did a nice job on these. Whoop. Oop, almost broke that. And these are the landing gear bay actuators. Came out pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and dust these a little bit with some pastel dust and then seal it. Here's the other one. They're kind of delicate, so you need to be careful. And here's the Bombay door actuators. How I did these. Came out pretty good. And this one. And the radar station. Now, I didn't do any detail painting on these other than to do a little dry brushing around the edges, but there are decals that go here, and that'll really enhance these. And then I just painted the cushion backs for the gunners with olive drab. I hand brushed it, and of course this is what happens when you hand brush it. You get streaks. No matter how good you are at brushing, you're going to get some streaks, but you're not going to see much through the glass, so we should be good. Whoop. So that's all of these parts, and I'll let you take one more look at this before I shut the video down so that you can get a good look. Now, this goes back to my discussion in a cockpit about the additive effect of subtle painting enhancements and pre-painted placards and subtle weathering. All those things have this additive effect. If you do too much, it just doesn't look right. So you want to do just a little of each, and that additive effect really enhances the interior. So this doesn't look like much, but once I get the seats and the seat belts and the placards in here and the hatch partially opened, it's going to look really, really good. The two seats that go back here, there's seat belts on them, but you know what? You're not going to see them. So I didn't mess with painting the seat belt. And the seat that goes here, I'll put photo wedge seat belts on it. So yeah, it's looking pretty good so far. So the next step here is to go ahead and, like I said, start adding some details like the photo etched, pre-painted photo etch to the deck here. That'll be the next step here. And as I mentioned, I've got to put decals here and here, and then these levers, and do a little bit of weathering on the landing gear actuators, seatbelts here, and we can start putting it together. I've got the landing gear complete, and they came out pretty good. This is done with Testor's Model Master steel. They're lacquer based, and then that's with the enamel chrome right there. So this came out pretty good. And here's the forward landing gear. And I'm going to use the Edward tires with the flattened surface. So they came out pretty good. And here's the other one from the forward landing gear. Treading on these are nice. Yes, looks good. It's not perfect, but not bad. So these are ready. Hello, scale modeling world. Thanks for watching part 3 of our continuing series on building and detailing the Revell-Monogram 148 scale B-29. And in part 4, we're going to assemble all the interior parts. So stay tuned. With that said, have a great evening, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and best of all, happy scale modeling.